Okay guys, so today here we have a Tomei pump here I purchased. I was having a biting issue with the gears. Noticed there's some thread lock within the inner portion between the outer gear and the housing, so I just cleaned everything up. Put the backing plate on and noticed that I still had this biting issue. So here's the original backing plate here. I'm just gonna throw this on here real quick and show you guys. So here's, I'm not even going to bolt it up, just to show you it's biting even without the bolts. But here's a stock pump here, stock drive. So you can see we can move this driven portion here freely by hand. Even with one thumb, she spins fairly freely and nicely here. This, on the other hand, with this backing plate not even screwed on, I'll just kind of simulate a little force here. It actually be great to get the actual gear in here first, right? Okay, so we'll throw the gear inside. If we can get her in, that's what she said. But so we'll get this in here, push down, kind of made it here, give you guys a little angle on this inner portion, but we can't move this inner gear at all. She's not budging. We can try to finger fuck any which way, but that inner portion is not moving. Very hardly moving. Okay. So even with I put one bolt in there, she seized. She's biting. So fix this, the solution here. SuperTec Spline drive kit. So let's get into that real quick. So what they get you in the kit, here's the stock one. Here's the one that comes in the kit here, and here's the crank fitted drive inner gear here. So this is basically gonna replace this flat driven gear here. Now everyone's worrying, well, how would this system now accommodate crank flex? Because you'd have a specific clearance set within the inner portion in between here, which would sit on your crank, and you're supposed to have a certain amount of clearance, like I said, to accommodate that. Now, so I got a rough estimate here of online of some typical clearances. So this is going to be 0.007 inches or 0.17 millimeters to 0.22 millimeters. Now that's a rough online estimate found here. So in order to solve this, to actually say, well, since this is mounted straight to your crank, how do we have this clearance still? Like, are we not going to have an issue with binding within the gear pump now once we have high horsepower applications? Well, let me show you how how SuperTec solve this. So we're just going to quickly measure this right here, so make sure that that's zeroed. I'm just going to quickly measure this gear right now, so if anyone's really worried about what's happening here. So we're going to quickly just snug her on down, and that's our reading. So we got 55.60 millimeters. Okay. Now we're going to measure the stock one here. .85. Okay. So now what they did here, very smart engineering, they took in accommodation of that clearance value, that 0.17 to 0.22 I said is a rough estimate, and they actually gave us 0.25 of a millimeter. Now I can show you. So with this, just very simply here with this backing plate off, and I'll show you with it installed and how it fixed my issue here. But with this one on right here, we can slide this in. We get zero play here. Very, very minimal. I wish I'd have a dial indicator or something to show you here, but this is just a little explanation. We lower this one in here, and we get a lot more radial play. Now that is that difference right there, that 0.17 to 0.22, or in our case 0.25 of a millimeter, to accommodate for crank flex. while keeping it driven. And I'll insert a picture up right now showing you actually the teeth. So they solve this by flattening out the teeth and changing the profile to give it a proper engagement point. So if it does flex, you're still running on the proper engagement on the actual drives here within the inner gear. Another thing to note is when installing this pump within the instructions by SuperTec for the Spline drive kit here, it says you must center this actual pump onto the block, because if you don't, you're going to be running into an issue where this is going to be sitting slightly off center, right, left, up, down, in whichever direction. You want to sit directly center, so we can get this proper 0.17 to 0.22 millimeter clearance, or 0.25 millimeter clearance in our case. So I'm just going to quickly button this up. Let's get her down, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, so here we are back with our plate fitted into the back of our pump here. And as you can see, quick little rotation test. She's free and spinning again. And that was my solution. Very, very simple solution to our problem here. And as you can see, again, fitted, we get our radial play here. Even when fully inserted, that gives us our crank flex clearance as we measured. Here's the stock one, fitted even. We can show you there's very little radial play present. There, if you can focus on this. Sorry, very little radial play present in here. And that's it.